Hi there, Serial Trader here. I want to take a look at Canopy Growth Corporation, ticker symbol CGC, on the New York Stock Exchange, and on the Toronto Stock Exchange, ticker symbol WEED. Now, I've been playing with this stock for quite a while, and if you can look at past videos, been in and out of it at different points. But this overall long-term chart is really setting up quite nicely here. Now, maybe back a few months, I've certainly gotten this wrong as far as trying to call bottom above the December low. And, I've entered some positions at, substantially higher levels than where we currently are. Maybe in the high 30s, low 40s, some positions. Longer term positions, mind you, so I'm willing to hold on to them for this bigger picture. But currently, this big sea wave we've been in has taken my soul. But I do view that as a temporary problem. Now, I just want to look at this weekly chart here on CGC just to kind of point out what I'm seeing here. So from the all-time, from inception, we'll say, we had the initial wave 1 up, wave 2 down, then we had a wave 3, then we had this A, B, C, D, E triangle wave 4, and then we thrust it up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this overall, I'll call it maybe primary degree wave 1, okay? So that was our initial impulse wave up, let's call it a multi-year impulse wave up. That finished in October of 2018, okay? And since then, we've been correcting that impulse wave. And it counts best as a flat pattern where we have a 3 down, 3 up, and now working our 5 down for wave C. So a 3, 3, 5. And in a flat pattern, ideally the B wave basically goes to a double top, but it's acceptable if it does, around an 80% retracement. So let's just check our retracement level there. I do think we exceeded the 80%. Let me just double check that. And yes, you can see we slightly exceeded the 80% retracement of this move down from October to our December lows there. So it meets the criteria for a flat as far as that goes, and more importantly, subdivides into 3 waves for the A wave and 3 waves for the B wave. So 3, 3, 5 looks to be the correct pattern here. Now that we have gone below the December lows, this basically allows us to consider the pattern completed basically anywhere near this point. So what I've done is I put a few targets up here. So we have the 618 retracement just from the absolute low to the absolute high. And wave 2's most common retracement level of wave 1 is 61.8%. So that comes in at 23.26. Today we bounced off of the low of 22.76. So, within less than $1 of that 618, if that's where we bottomed, that would be quite textbook. I'm not saying we bottom, but it's certainly an attractive area to look for. And we also have the AC equality relationship here. Okay, and that comes in at $18.75, so around $19. So that's a little bit lower, although not substantially considering where we came from. And then we also have the guideline for the depth of corrective waves. So after you have an impulse wave up, often the correction following retraces down to the previous 4th wave, the span of travel of the previous 4th wave, and often ending near its terminus. So its terminus on CGC was around, so we had this triangle A, B, C, D, E. So the E wave of that triangle 4 ended right around 21. So again, today we bounced off 22.76. So we're near the termination point of the previous 4th wave of 1 lower degree. We're at the 618 retracement level, and you can count 5 waves down. So if I go into the daily chart here, you can certainly get 5 waves out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for C. Doesn't mean we're completely bottomed out here, but it sure looks close. Now, just pointing this out, so if you aren't already in CGC, wonderful area to be building a long-term position of stock or longer dated calls. If you are in CGC, from higher levels like me, You certainly don't want to be selling down here at or near the bottom. So just hold on in that case. Now, some things to point out here. If you look at the weekly RSI, it's extremely oversold. In fact, if you look back at CGC's history, the only other time weekly RSI even got oversold, we were basically still a penny stock. So that's notable. Very oversold there. We're almost oversold on the daily RSI. Oversold on the 4-hour RSI. So multiple time frames just crushed there on that oscillator, which it's nice. That's what you want to look for at a major, large degree bottom like this. So that's CGC. And also, before I switch to the weed chart, which I'll get to, I just want to point out some targets. So whenever we get our wave 2 bottom here, if we don't already have it in place, possibly today, wave 3 price target. So we'll just do the 1618 relationship between 1 and 3 off of 2. And currently, that will get us up to $116, about $117. Okay, so around 120, we'll call it. So that's a pretty attractive target from current levels. You're looking at multi 100% rise from the current levels. And it might seem extreme, but it's really not. I mean, as far as relationships go, a 1618 for a wave 3 is actually just kind of an average, typical relationship. You can even go beyond that. You often do in a wave 3. But that's looking ahead, well into the future. So I think I'll get rid of CGC here for a moment. Look at weed. Again, exact same company, just expressed in a different currency. In this case, we're looking at the Canadian chart. And very much the same scenario we got here. So we got our 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 4, 5 for the initial 1. That primary degree wave 1, we'll call it. ABC down for 2, possibly in place today. But if not today, we're getting real close. And okay, so the AC equality relationship on weed would be 28.66. Today we got as low as 30.30, so within a couple bucks of that, we'll say, pretty close. We have the previous fourth wave of 1 lesser degree, and its termination point there was 27. Again, within a couple bucks of today's low. So I'm liking that. And we also had a gap here on weed that we closed. It was from May of 2018. And to close that gap, let me just go check on the daily chart. To close that gap, we had to get to, let's see here, 30.55. And today we went as low as 30.30. So we closed that May 2018 gap. So for whatever reason, price caps often like to get closed before you finally get going again in the larger trend. So we close that gap. We're terribly oversold on this chart as well, same as CGC on all time frames. I won't go through them again, but exactly the same basically as the CGC RSI destruction that I showed. So everything's lined up quite nicely to be at or near the bottom, and a very major bottom. Now looking at weed for upward price targets here, once we get going back to the upside. So a 1618 relationship between 1 and 3 off of 2 for weed. That would get us to $153.96. So let's say 154 bucks. Let's call it 155 just to make it a nice clean number. So 155 from our current level of 32 and change. I mean, that's huge gains, obviously, we're expecting in the future. So that's something to look forward to here. And so I've gone through basically the technical and the pattern outlook here. So you basically just have your textbook 5 up, 3 down on a large time frame. So very nice Elliott wave picture. Everything's looking good there. But as far as the fundamentals go, and I'm not typically making investing or trading decisions based on fundamentals, but I do still like to be aware of them. Now, okay, so we're super beat up here, but are we actually fundamentally cheap now? And I'll make the argument that we are. So this company, now I'm speaking in Canadian dollars because that's how things are typically reported because it's a Canadian company. The company still has $3.1 billion on its balance sheet, okay, of actual cash. And then in total assets, it has over $8 billion. And I think it has liabilities of maybe around $3 billion. So let's say a book value of $5 billion or thereabouts, Canadian. Now, as of today's low, I think we were trading, as far as market cap goes, about 1.5 times book value. Now, considering that this is a leading company in a new and growing industry and sector, for that to be trading at 1.5 times book value, I mean, that is absurd. If you look at how a lot of other growth stocks trade, I mean, they're trading at ridiculous multiples of their actual book value, and also ridiculous multiples of their sales and earnings and all these things. So there's no question, Weed and CGC here, they've had some short-term issues as far as earnings reports and that sort of thing. But I mean, this sector hasn't even been legal for a year yet. Things are still getting ironed out. There's still enormous growth and opportunity coming down the road here. And just to go over a few things that are coming. So in October, you'll have all the cannabis derivative products legalized for sale. Some are kind of referring to this as legalization 2.0 in Canada. And that's where vaping products, edibles, cannabis-infused beverages, all these things are going to be coming online. And tentatively, they'll be in stores around December, even though it's kicking in October, because it takes a while for the supply chain to get going and things get stocked up, etc. But that's a big catalyst coming. You have the continual possibility, and I would say even probability, of United States federal legalization or at least decriminalization of both recreational and medical marijuana. And whenever that happens, that's going to be a huge catalyst for the industry. And Weed and CGC, so Canopy Growth Corporation, already has a huge kind of opportunity already put in place with the acreage, conditional acreage deal, where if and when that U.S. legalization occurs, they already have a lockdown to buy acreage holdings, which is a multi-state marijuana operator in the United States. So they'll immediately be able to enter the U.S. market in a significant way. Okay, so Canopy Growth also has a hemp facility in New York State. I believe it just finished construction recently. So they'll be doing hemp and CBD products. I think they can already do that. It's already legal. So that's another area of growth. And then you have international operations in various places, including Germany. So that's a continuing opportunity to expand those markets. And then, of course, the Canadian market, where this company is based in, you have, it's continually growing and new stores are opening, and it's kind of just building steam. Like I said, it hasn't even been legal for a year yet. So given all those fundamental backdrops and future growth catalysts, given this, textbook quality Elliott wave 5 up and now 3 down at or near completion, this is an extremely attractive long-term entry opportunity, again, for stock or long-dated call options, for instance. And it's certainly possible that today was the bottom, although it's very difficult to call the bottom the day it happens, but it definitely looks close. I don't think we go too much lower if it's not the bottom. So I'll leave that with you, but I just thought I'd throw an update on that. And yeah, definitely this C wave down of 2, it took my soul. It definitely went farther than I was expecting, but that's because I wasn't viewing this overall pattern as what it actually is. Again, I was thinking that this initial move down we had from October into December of 2018, I thought that was the entirety, for instance, of this wave 2, and that we were already starting wave 3 up. But what we actually had was, we corrected perhaps enough price, but not enough time. So this initial impulse wave took a couple years. So to think that, what was that, October to December? So to think that in a few months we could correct, you know, a couple of years of time, in retrospect, was a poor call on my point. Even though the price correction was adequate, the time correction was not. So now we've done it. This is getting closer to a year now. This overall correction from the top. So given that, you know, a couple years up, 1 year down, 3-wave decline. Now it's looking a lot more promising that we have a significant pivot in place, or nearly so, and then we can start looking higher in that major degree wave 3. So I'll leave that with you. I thought that was worth sharing, though, as today may have been a significant low that we just put in. All right, Serial Trader signing off.